Good.
Good afternoon to all our listeners and viewers of the NDC Heartbeat podcast. We're happy to have all those who are listening on radio via WeFM. We've got Vibes FM, Spice Capital Radio. We've got Talk Grenada. We also got 100.5 FM out of La Baie in Grenville. And, of course, right along Brooklyn, New York. We are on Facebook. We are also on YouTube. So, welcome to another NDC Heartbeat episode for this beautiful Sunday afternoon in Grenada. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be chatting with the CEO of the Spice Mass Corporation. As you, of course, know, Carnival is just right around the corner. So we need to know all the plans, what's going to be happening. And joining me also is the chairman of the Grenada Tourist Board, young Randy Dolan. He's going to be talking not just about tourism, he will also be updating us on upcoming cricket at the stadium. So that and other matters will be coming up very shortly. So stay with us. Back with you in just a moment.
Summer is here, and so is the search for Grenada's next big talent. The Grenada Office of Creative Affairs presents Sing Grenada, a youth-powered program spotlighting the next generation of musical talent.
We're looking for young stars from every corner of the island. Whether you sing, play an instrument, or create beats, this is your moment.
Show Grenada and the world what you've got. Submit a 1-minute video to singgrenada@gmail.com or click the link in our bio to register. Please state your name, your age, what school you attend, and you must be 19 and under to apply.
Your voice, your sound, your story. This is Sing Grenada, where talent takes center stage.
Welcome back to the NDC Heartbeat podcast for today's Sunday. Now, in studio with me is the chairman of the Grenada Tourist Board, that is Mr. Randy Dolan, and virtually is Cecil Noel, the CEO of Spice Mass Corporation. We'll start off first of all with the CEO of Spice Mass Corporation, Cecil Noel. And Cecil, we want to welcome you to the set today. Good having you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Forrester. Thanks for having me on the program. It's a privilege and an honor, I may say. I'm really happy to be here so we can talk all things Spice Mass.
Great, wonderful indeed. And in studio with me is the chairman of the Grenada Tourist Board, Randy Dolan. And of course, tourism and culture seems to have a special energy and synergy. So I will be inviting him to interact, during this conversation with you. So first of all, Cecil, share with the Grenadian public and of course the diaspora and the world, who is Cecil Noel? Tell us about Cecil Noel.
So before I get into who is Cecil Noel, let me say a very pleasant afternoon to all your listeners, viewers, locally, through the diaspora. Globally, I may say, because that's the age in which we live. Everything just spans very deep and wide. There's a lot to say about Cecil Noel. So let me see, I try to make it as short. Was an immigration officer for some years. Spent most of my time working as well with the Comancheros, both as manager as well as musical director. I worked with Cable and Wireless for approximately 30 years. Different capacity. When I eventually left there, I was the corporate sales manager with the responsibilities for the top customers. That will include people like government, the banks, SGU, and so. A lot of my training was focused on sales and marketing. So, that was my forte back at the company, which, as you know, was top class in terms of telecoms. Of course, outside of that, involved in music in different areas, different aspects. I represented the Stephen Association as a director on Spice Mass previously. I did a lot of work for a number of Calypsonians as well in terms of arrangement, working along with people like James Clarkson. I still very much involved in music as the leader of the gospel group Touch of Grace. Also spent some time at TAMCC as an adjunct lecturer for about 2 years. So, there's really a lot of experience in different areas, different fields. And of course, out of all of that, I see that I could make a significant contribution to Spice Mass Corporation. So if we can take that for now.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Cecil. And Spice Mass Corporation is obviously very privileged to have someone in your capacity with the experiences in management, leadership, music, etc., etc., etc. So great. Glad that you're serving the nation once more. So let us get into the meat of things. Upcoming Spice Mass. What are we to expect? What are some of the challenges you're experiencing, if any? And we just want to know what to look forward to this carnival.
Well, great. But before we talk about looking forward, before we get to the stage we're at, I just try to briefly just recap what takes us to the stage we're at. So, for example, when Spice Mass ended in 2024, I know sometimes there's that feeling from the general public that there's a lot, but really and truly, there's just so much activity, so much work to be done that immediately we were on the ball in terms of working. And let me just take the opportunity to greet my staff, to say hail up to my staff as well as my board of directors, because without them, it's just going to be extremely challenging. So one of the first things that we had to get involved with had to do with the Carnival Queens. And of course, the best place to start with that was having stakeholders meeting specifically with the parish committees. Because what we had to do was to get these queens and get them in an early time, very early in January, to start preparing them. Because as you may appreciate, it's really a lot of work in terms of grooming the queens and getting them going. So we were able to do that, and we got off to a great start in that area. We had a number of stakeholders meeting with the main stakeholders, Pan, Calypso. We're talking about the different masks, both traditional, fancy masks, and the list goes on. So those stakeholders meeting again set the framework for what is supposed to be happening. In addition to that, working along with the GCF, there were also some level of interaction in terms of reviewing the product Spice Mass and how we move forward. So a lot of these things were done before we get to where we are. So at this stage, we had the casting calls for the Queen. We had their unveiling. We met with the sponsors, as you may appreciate, represent a sponsor. Things like ticket sales, putting that in place, that has been up and going for a while, and I can say from online, those sales have been going very, very well so far, especially for soca. Carnival launch that took place in May, and since the launch, we made the effort to keep what I would consider the vibes and the hype going. So following that, we had things like the judges workshop, and that is to ensure that the quality of judging in terms of our artists, in terms of our mass players, it is of a high standard. So we had those judging workshop, as we emphasized, a lot of emphasis was placed on the professionalism and the ethical behavior in terms of what is expected of judges. Now, the truth is that is really important, which is why I'm taking the time to talk about it, because the judging, as we appreciate, can make or break an artist or someone involved in the creative. Outside of the workshop, we also had Carnival City, which culminated on last Thursday, and that again went very well. As the night went on, we saw the increase in interest, we saw the increase in participation, and we are at the stage now where we have just completed the registration for vending, a very critical part as well, because although we put it on Spice Mass, we got to remember from a socioeconomic standpoint that this is something that is of importance to just about everyone throughout the length and breadth, whether it's the people that cleans the street, the vendors, the hoteliers, the airlines. So it's really important. So we had vendors registration, and we also had registration of the various mass bands, traditional, fancy. We had registration of the artists. So today, for example, I can tell you from a traditional mass band, we had 19 bands registered, fancy mass band, 15. For the Children's Carnival Frolic, we have 6 bands registered to participate. Modern Night Mass, 7. And the Juve bands, we have 6 of those. Steel bands, we expect to have approximately 8 of the steel bands participating. And of course, we had things like Pan Expression that already went, and we had 8 of the bands participating there. So a lot is, set in stage. Coming up this week, from this week, we move straight along to the preliminary stages of judging. And the preliminary stage of judging, we're going to start with the power soca, and that is going to come off, as I said, from this Thursday, and it's going to be for 3 days. We have approximately 120 power soca artists registered. So as you appreciate, it's a long list, so we're going to split that up and try to do that over 3 days. Similarly, in the case of the Groovy Soca, we have approximately 91 of those registered. And those are good. The preliminary round of judging for the Groovy Soca, that's going to be from next week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Likewise, as I said, in the case of the power, this Thursday, the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. If for any reason we see the need and the need to be extended because of the numbers, that also will be taken care of. I'm also happy to announce that the Calypso tents, they are up and going. We had a really great show last week with the Calypso bags and firework launch at the Deluxe Cinema. And let me just take the opportunity to congratulate them, as they are now 30 years in existence. And I think they are doing a marvelous job up there. So I just want to congratulate them on that steadfast movement, keeping Calypso alive. And last evening, we had the launch of the Calypso Classic Calypso 10. That took place at Lassages. And again, from a musical standpoint, from the artists in terms of the lyrical content, it was also an extremely high quality event. There are actually 5 Calypso tents. So we have 3 more tents. Well, actually 2 more tents. That's Calypso Kingdom and the Northwest Brigade. That we expect them to launch anytime soon. As you'll appreciate, coming out, for example, from the Power Soca, from the preliminaries, we are going to select 30 of those artists to go into the semifinals. From the Groovy, we're going to select 25. And from the Calypso, we're going to be selecting 20 to go forward to the semifinals. The semifinal stages, those will take place later in July. But let me just backtrack a little bit. In the case of the preliminaries, because it's important that the general public know that the venue for the preliminaries, which start this week, it's going to be at the Carnage basketball and volleyball court. And I take the opportunity to mention that because it was previously announced as the Canteen netball court, but because of some work that is being done there presently to accommodate the hosting of a netball tournament, we had to shift gears, and we are now going to be at the Carnage basketball and volleyball court from this week and again next week.
Well, you're fully loaded, man. You're fully loaded.
It is fully loaded. It's a lot of meaning. There's really no rest between it all. So the Calypso tents as well, they're going to be judged from the 17th to the 22nd of July, and we have approximately 60 Calypsonians. And of course, they will be vying for position into the semis and from there into the finals. The semifinals of all three stages, the Groovy Power and Calypso, those are going to be held at Progress Park, St. Andrew. And again, what we try to do as much as possible is to share, if I may say, the pie in terms of what happens where. So we're going to have all the semifinals being held at Progress Park in St. Andrew. The Brian Griffith Groovy semi, that is going to be on the 24th of July. Then we have the Trevor Friday Power Soca semi, that's going to be on the 25th. I know it just reminded me some time ago speaking to some young people, and they were asking why these names. So people like Brian Griffith, he was really a stalwart in terms of what happened with the Groovy. He was one of the persons very instrumental in starting that event. Also a very good writer in terms of Calypso Soca, and it was named after him. And likewise, Trevor Friday, who was one of the pioneers, a producer in terms of doing it from a local stage. And that's, there's a lot more to say about these people, but that's where it came from. Mm-hmm. And then we have the Calypso, which is the Melody Papitet Calypso semi-finals. And again, Melody and Papitet, those were two of our really outstanding Calypsonians back a year. So it's really fitting that these events are named after these people. The Trevor Friday Power, that will be on the 25th of July. We have a little break, and we have the traditional mass, which will take place at Victoria, and that will be on the 26th of July. And I'm taking this opportunity to invite everyone. The traditional mass is one of what we consider our basic or main cultural background, one of our main cultural state. When we have all the different aspects, Maple, Veco, Wild Indians, Apache, the Shortneys, the Jab, and the Moko Jumbies. And it's really a spectacle. And over the years, this event, the Traditional Mass Festival, has been growing and growing. And we are really pleased again to be working along with the likes of Grenada, who is the main sponsor of that event. And even this year, we have coming on board the Grenada Hotel and Tourism Authority, who is willing to ensure that the traditional mass aspect of our carnival survives, it lives, and it gets a little more attention. So the Traditional Mass Festival at Victoria, and that in itself is going to be a spectacle when you have all these bands come in. It usually takes the form of a parade, and then we all gather at this particular spot where we, kind of culminate with all the different displays and so being done there. In between, on that same day, we have the 7 Queen contestants. They'll be having a motorcade around the island, and it's expected that they too will give a guest appearance at the Traditional Mass Festival when they get to St. Mark. Just quickly, I'll just mention the names. You have representing St. Andrew, Miss Princess Felix. That's delegate number 1. Delegate number 2, you have Miss Germaine Laborde. She's representing St. Patrick. She's Miss St. Patrick. Khadijah Bristol, Miss Carrico. Katie Ann Thomas, Miss St. George. Jelena Matt, St. David. Blossom George. Jelena Matt, yes, St. David. And then you have Blossom George, who represents St. Mark. And Aliyah Knights representing St. John. And again, we really make the effort to encourage these young ladies, because taken on the responsibility of wanting to be and participating in the National Carnival Queen pageant. It's really take a lot. It's a lot of training. It's a lot of what I would say fortitude required in terms. So we really like to send our appreciation to those young ladies for taking the mantle to represent the parishes. And of course, as I stated before, they're now also going to be representing the various sponsors as they go along. All of the final events are expected to take place at the National Stadium. And I say expected because recently, one of our follow-up meetings with the Calypso associations, we had some discussions and we are at the stage of making a final determination as it respect to the location for the March Gras. Looking at various logistic and other potential reasons that we need to consider in terms of that final deliberation and agreement as to where it's going to be. All the shows, all the major shows, the final shows are going to be what I would say professionally be produced. All the major shows, they are going to be streamed. They're going to be pay-per-view. And of course, the Kiddies Carnival, which is the first of what I would say the major shows that come off on August 2nd at the National Stadium. And by the way, I know people may be wondering, the stadium we're going to be using this year, that will be the cricket stadium, because the place is prepared, it's ready, and we were given the assurance it's going to be used. So right after the test match between Australia and the West Indies, we are going to start doing what we have to do in terms of preparation. So as I said, the Children's Carnival Frolic, that comes up on August 2nd. We still having all the different aspects in terms of registration. I already gave you the amount of bands, but we have to get the steel bands. And of course, we have people like Teacher Eddie and his group in St. David's, who are working assiduously with the youths to ensure that the Junior Calypso Monarch competition is of a very high standard, and in fact, that be successful. One of the things that usually come up is the whole question of the amount of events within that Children's Carnival Frolic. And we are working diligently to ensure that all three events run smoothly and finish in a timely manner. After the Children's Carnival Frolic, we have the Majestic Thursday, that's the Queen Pageant. That will be followed by the Soca Monarch. Of course, we know the hype, we know the expectation, and as you can imagine, with approximately almost 200, well, it's more than 200, 91 of the groovy, and we have 120 of the power. So there's going to be top caliber in terms of the people that's going to be selected to be there for the finals. 11 of each, 11 groovy, 11 power. So we really expect that to be a power-packed event. We move from there into the panorama. And from the panorama, as I say, we have the 8 bands that are going to be participating. And from the panorama, we have the Dimanche Gras. Now, there's a lot of other things behind the background that need to happen. Maybe at this time, I could even bring in Randy, because I have been in collaboration and in discussion with the GTA. And part of what we presently working on is, apart from just working on the events, we also working on the preparation in terms of what people see, the welcoming part of it to Grenada, because we do expect a bumper turnout in terms of people coming in to participate. The numbers last year were tremendous, and we really think that it's going to be increased this year. So things like decoration of the airport, and we're working along with the GTA on that. Randy, you. All
right, Cecil. Well, let me give you a breather at this point in time and invite Randy to come onto the set in order to interact with you on that subject matter.
Yes.
And bear in mind, the question I wish to pose to you and Randy, when will Spice Mass, in collaboration with GTA, start organizing charter flights at discounted rates for the diaspora to come to Carnival, to come for Christmas, to come for Easter? There are loads of aircrafts out there now sitting on the ground. This is your moment to take this opportunity. Take advantage of it. So, over to you, Randy. Welcome to the Heartbeat.
Well, thank you again, Jerry, for hosting me. And again, special good afternoon to all of your viewers. Again, to Cecil for Spice Mass, who we work very closely with.
Great.
And I know, as he acknowledged his team, we also do the same of the Tourism Authority, because, our agents, reps, and staff at the office work around the clock.
Right.
Ensuring that all of these things come together, especially, for Spice Mass, which is our largest cultural festival on island. Last year we had a phenomenal success with Spice Mass. We had like 30% increase in arrivals, and we're going to have more increase in arrivals this year.
Whoa.
So even when you're making the point about the charter flights, I was like,
where are you going to put them?
Exactly. We're almost over capacity at this point, because just so like our viewers let them understand that we have additional service coming in, right? More than we had last year, and last year we already went up 30%. So in addition to the 2 daily JetBlue services that we have, we also have 2 American airline services from Miami as well, coming in during the Spice Mass time. That service starts from August 6th, runs to August 18th. The JetBlue service is August 2nd, runs to August 18th as well. In addition to that, we have 2 Air Canada services that fly weekly into Grenada. So again, that's more capacity from the Canadian market. Caribbean Airlines is already has committed their services direct services from Toronto, as well as New York, 2 services as well. The first week in August, and then the return leg right after Spice Mass as well, both to Toronto and both to JFK in New York. So when we have to make sure, exactly. We have to make sure that those airlines are full, because what is important is that these airlines have to continue to run a profitable business as well. Spice Mass has done well, but I think that now we have a record amount of arrivals coming in. And then that still doesn't include the additional capacity that we have with Caribbean Airlines from Trinidad. They're now flying the big jet in for Spice Mass direct from Trinidad, because you have capacity there. We'll have more service with Inter-Caribbean, and then you have Virgin and BA, who are owning, we normally get 50% allocation of the plane, but with Spice Mass we take up most of the plane. So those planes are coming in heavy. The forward bookings are looking very good. I think the biggest issue we are having right now is the issue of room stock, because we have to put you got to put these revelers and those visitors coming in. You got to put them somewhere. Well,
I'll throw out another spanner in the works. For next year, we need to have 1,000-room cruise ship parked out on the terminal to take care of all of the excesses.
That's a great point, because we do need a room stock. But at the same time, I think it's also, this serves as a clarion call to local investors. Anyone who might be considering getting involved in hospitality, this is a great time to sort of invest in that, right? We are looking for quality rooms, again, where the GTA could go out and certify as they do have to keep the standard of the accommodation at a high level, because we don't want to get complaints. So we want to make sure that we keep some of the money here on the island, because to get a cruise ship is multiple millions of dollars, right? Because you have to get that in, cater it. And more so than that, it's a lot of revenue immediately just leaving the island as well. So we might benefit from some of the room stock. It would help us with the airlines. But at the same time, we want to ensure that we give our local people the best ability to make the most amount of money, in a sense of capitalizing, and not just making money to make money's sake, but providing a quality experience, a quality product that we all could be proud of. Because again, after Spice Mass, we still have airlift that we still have to fill going forward, right? So if we get more certified rooms, we encourage more local investors on the island. This would ultimately help our overall tourism product.
Absolutely so indeed. Well, Cecil, what can you tell us that's going to be new about Monday Night Mass? I think over the years you've had a lot of complaints from the public regarding Monday Night Mass and the long hours having to wait by Tropicana Restaurant. What is going to be new this year?
Well, let me mention, because I mean, I took the breather, but I took the breather just to be able to talk about what I like to consider street theater, which is what happened on the streets. And the truth be told, I mean, most of the other events which I spoke of before that happened, let's say, in kind of defined areas or venues, those are a lot easier to manage. Now, on the street, it's a number of things that take place there. So even before I go to Monday Night Mass, we have the Juve, and as we know, Grenada is well known for its Juve. I mean, we have people that come on island from overseas specifically for Juve. Mm-hmm. I was very surprised when being told in Trinidad some time ago on an interview that some of the Trinidadians would leave, come for Juve, and then return the afternoon or the following day. And I thought it strange, but then as time goes on, I get to better understand and appreciate. Because what we have is really unique. It's loved by a lot. And I know sometimes the emphasis is placed on the job, but I think it goes a lot more than that. We can talk about the cuisine. We can talk about the friendliness of our people. And by the way, these are going to be for all of the events. You know, the safety in which to make people feel safe and all of that. So for Juve Morning, we have had discussions with some of the job leaders and some of the other bands in terms of working towards having it more structured. And this will also take some work with the police who have also engaged, and we're going to continue engaging, because the managing of what happened on the street is critical to make sure things go well. So the intention is to have Juve start as early as maybe 4:30. We're going to try to start it off in a band. And we want to make sure that when we start, it's really something that is in progress. So we are, as I said, working with some of the bands. So we give the go ahead and the bands will start, because time is of the essence. With respect to Juve is expected to start, as I say, around 4:30, and it will end by 9:30. By 9, we'll be given indication for the DJs and so to start shutting down the music. By 9:30 is expected to be completed, so people can move, get to their home, get refreshed, and come back. And then we have the pageant on Monday. And for the pageant on Monday, the emphasis here is really going to be on traditional mass. And I want to really stress the importance to the general public that we want you to come out and support the traditional mass. We have heard the cry of the traditional mass bands themselves. We have heard the cry of the audience, you, the general public, the spectators. So we are working with the traditional mass bands to ensure that they come on street. And the time we have set is 1 o'clock, so that they could come on the street, but we really need an audience for them. So we are going to be talking about this more through our marketing and PR, as well as the social media pages. We're going to be talking more to make sure people are encouraged to come. And we hope to have so the traditional mass, as I said, they would start, the emphasis will be on them, and then we're going to have the fancy mass band that will follow. Now, the fancy mass band, as it has become, they don't usually dress in the full carnival regalia, which is why, we want to make sure the traditional mass take that upfront priority space. But the traditional mass, the fancy mass, as I say, will come after, sorry. And we expect to finish by 6, so that people now can be ready for the Monday Night Mass, which is what you asked about. Mm-hmm. And the Monday Night Mass bands, they're expected to get moving from 8. In terms of the route, what we are doing, the bands will start from where Lexington used to be, just before the Fall Edge, mm-hmm. and come over to so that is one. Last year it was a little further back, and we are working along with the police, as well as we are recruiting marshals. We are working along with the band leaders, and this is both for Monday Night Mass as well as for the parade, as well as the parade of the bands, as well as the pageant, to ensure that we work as a team and move as a team. So when the various instructions are given for moving, we expect people to move. We have already, from the discussion, spoke of some of the things that are likely to happen if we don't get that cooperation from people. But the truth is, we expect to get a cooperation. I know some of the fancy mass bands, they are taking in front and even informing their players, hey, you pay for your package, you pay for what you're going to get, be prepared to make good use of it. And they are actually, in some cases, saying, hey, we know that there may be other Juve activities elsewhere, but that is going to be impacted on you. And the time you get in your uniform, your costume. So, they are making efforts to ensure that their bands are there and there on time. So that when we say move, we're going to move. As I said, the police is going to be working with us, the marshal is going to be working with us. And we really sincerely believe that the flow is going to be better and easier. So, that's what is expected. And of course, some of
Cecil,
this
not cutting you, but you are seriously eating into Randy's time. I know you have a lot to share with us. So let's get just another minute or two from you to say what will be different this year's Monday Night Mass.
What is going to be different is the whole question of how it's managed on the street in terms of it being more like produced. So people are going to know what's going to happen. People are going to know where their bands are going to be stationed to start. And the whole question of the movement with the help and the assistance from the police, as I said, and the marshal, those are going to be the two main elements, in addition to the work and the discussions we already had with the leaders, that we really expect to see when the night mass really flowing better. So we expect to see bands on the Esplanade, on the Grenada Boulevard, as early as, I would say, by 8:30, 9 o'clock, as opposed to the 11 other times that we have seen in the past.
Great, wonderful. That would be a great improvement.
We'll work towards it.
All right. Well, it was great having you. Let me give you 30 seconds just to give you a final wrap-up, and then we'll go on to Randy.
Well, final wrap, just asking everyone to come out and play their part. We also taking the opportunity here to say thanks to all the various sponsors who have come on board. I'm working along with our sponsorship committee. We see it extremely important because we can't do it on our own. So we rely and depend on the help. We thank the government, and in particular our line ministry and minister, for the support he has been given to us. And we know that, as we say, Spice Mass is the best mass by far. When we say that, we really truly mean it. Because as I started a while ago by saying, it is a combination of our culture, our rich cultural heritage. It's a combination of our cuisine. It's a combination of our hospitality and friendliness. And of course, doing all of that in a very safe environment. So we are asking everybody, please, to come out, support, and have an enjoyable and safe Carnival Spice Mass 2025.
Great. Well, thank you very much indeed. This was the CEO of Spice Mass Corporation, Mr. Cecil Noel. And we look forward to having you again back on the Heartbeat pretty soon as the thing heats up, as they say. So get ready for another invitation.
That's no problem. Thank you.
Thank you very much
Thanks
indeed.
Yes,
Great,
thanks.
wonderful. At this time, I'd like to just reintroduce to the set the chairman of the Grenada Tourist Board. Matter of fact, now it's the Grenada Tourism Authority, Mr. Randy Dolan. And we're going to be talking not just tourism, we're going to also be talking about cricket. So, as Cecil interjected earlier on, cricket, what is your involvement in the upcoming cricket at the stadium? West Indies versus Australia.
Well, again, a special thanks again for having me here, and again, welcome to everyone, all viewers and listeners. And I showed up to the set today in my all white, right?
Well, I see that. I see that you're ready for test match.
Test cricket, exactly. But the Tourism Authority is always very heavily involved once it comes to promoting our beautiful country, our beautiful destination. Yes. We now have a brand new, newly renovated cricket stadium, and and the ministry and government of Grenada, Ministry of Sports and Government of Grenada, have been instrumental in ensuring that we got test match as soon as the stadium was ready.
Right.
So it's always a collective effort, and what's important is ensuring that the experience on the ground is a good one, and then also ensuring that we are out in the market promoting visitors to get to the destination, because ultimately one of our mandates and our greatest mandate is the promotion of the destination of Grenada. and ensuring that we're marketing Grenada and attracting visitors and ensuring that that capacity for them to arrive is there and in place. So now we are going to ensure that we have some great promotions. We've been running some promotions over in Barbados.
Right.
So we could actually use those Aussies who are visiting or individuals from CARICOM who are, rallying around the West Indies, that they have the opportunity to seamlessly get to the destination. So we do have capacity on Inter, we do have capacity on Caribbean Airlines, and also capacity on Virgin.
Right.
Where you can fly Virgin into Grenada as well. So you're flying on a bigger aircraft and you have more seating arrangement availability. You could send more bags, etc. So that's the plan, is just really to continue to engage and get individuals as well, not just overseas, but locally, pumped up about cricket, partake in cricket, because it's very important that whatever we do, we get buy-in, local buy-in.
Yeah,
that's
of course.
always very, very important. We have to
Absolutely.
follow the likes of the Junior Murrays. Who's the next Junior Murray? The next Raw Lewis, Devon Smith, Andre Fletcher. We have another young guy coming up right now. But it's important that we sort of continue to ensure that we have youth participation, whatever we're doing, and get the public to go along and support. So it's even like a call to, the schools, because we actually did go out to did an outreach to schools along with the ministry to try to get the school kids into the park and become inspired by what they're witnessing and see cricket at the highest level, played at the highest level in the park.
Fantastic. Well, I mean, there's an old saying that mangoes don't fall too far from the tree.
That's right.
Your dad, Hugh Dolan, was an avid cricketer.
That's right.
Not just a cricketer, a great Calypsonian, put it that way.
Calypsonian as
A man of culture,
Yeah, that's right.
a successful businessman, and many more things. His brother was a former Minister of Government under the Gary administration.
Yeah, the first minister under the independence, yeah.
So you have certainly taken a lot of those genes in many areas.
Well, not the cricket. I only just stressed it why, but take the cricket part.
All right, let's see how it goes. You never know.
Yeah, and I think that is, but again, it's always to encourage participation and local buy-in, and that goes across the board with everything, right? As we just had the CEO from Spice Mass, just saying that, the improvements that are coming, and also ensuring that they get participation with the folklore, like the traditional mass,
Right.
which is important. So this Spice Mass for me is not about a jab, it's about Veco or short knee. So this is what I'm going to be looking at.
All right.
Actually participating in.
Great.
Believe it.
Fantastic.
And then that even goes back to our working with Spice Mass even at the airport, because we work along with them to ensure that there's a great celebratory feel when you arrive at the airport.
Right.
For Spice Mass. And that's actually starting next week, we'll be doing the same for cricket.
Right.
So ensuring that the visitors coming in feel welcome, and they're here at Spice Country. Let them know that, let that be felt when they do arrive. And that even goes to when we were discussing the decoration of the airport. We have replicas of our Coral Carnival, which are the statues under the water.
Right. Yeah,
So
lovely.
some of those statues, the exact replicas, are at the airport in the arrival area. So after you clear immigration and you're waiting for your bags, you can see them. So the descriptions will be going up. So visitors coming in would know exactly that these replicas are actually under the water. So you can actually go visit the sculpture park, because there's a promotion for that. See how these replicas have been assisting with protecting our marine life and facilitating their growth and that marine habitat, protecting our shores, because especially as a small and undeveloping state, we have to make sure we take care of our water environment. So again, special shout out to the Blue Economy, who's been very supportive of this initiative. And also, what it also does is gives all of the visitors coming in an understanding of, one, Spice Mass, what Spice Mass is, our biggest cultural festival, and two, more understanding and tell the story of the traditional mass. So at the airport, we have the short knee, we have the Veku, we have the jab, we have the wild Indian. I think Veku, so that's it. There's 5 of them.
Well,
Right,
there's one that has almost died off. It's called the Dirty Mass.
Or the dirty, yes, that's right. So I mean, and So yeah, so when you look at that, like the fancy mask play at the airport, we want to revive that, get the colors all more vibrant. But the whole idea is to continue to promote the destination in every realm and capacity that we have.
Right. Now, how does the authority work with Grenadians who have an additional apartment or room or so forth that meets the criteria of the association?
Well, what
the
we try
Grenada
to do
Tourist
now
Board?
is get these rooms certified, so they could reach out, they could come in, we could inspect it and get the room certified. We're just going to do a quality check and make sure that they sort of meet the standard.
Right. So is there a website or is there an email address or telephone that they should make contact with?
Yeah, just go info at Pure Grenada.
Info at puregrenada.
puregrenada.com, and
Right.
just let us know, reach out to us, and then we will take it from there. We will dispatch the quality assurance team, and we will,
So they can get it going.
that's correct.
All right. Now, what, 2 weeks ago you were in Atlanta with your team, certifying and welcoming Delta back to Grenada in, is it 20th November or December?
20th of December.
20th December.
That's correct.
All right. You want to tell us a little bit about that and how it went?
Yeah, no, it went very well. So, I mean, going back to the fact that we are continuing to increase airlift to the destination, we're now going to have Delta, which is the top American carrier. And we're now going to get them coming in because they come with a very loyal following. It's called the Sky Team because the Sky Miles. And now having them on the route is going to be very beneficial because they would then also, not just from Atlanta, but source markets from all across the United States, from a lot of different gateways. So as far as LA, from Seattle, from Texas, from the north, from Chicago, Dallas, the Texas state, we have from Charlotte and everywhere else in the middle, we're going to be getting a lot more connections going through that route. So we took that opportunity in Atlanta to meet with them, meet with the stakeholders, more importantly, get a lot of stakeholder buy-in, and then also meet with some of the diaspora there. Very important to always engage our diaspora wherever we go. So special thank you to the diaspora who came out to help us and support us. And then also meet with the travel agents who will be filling the planes. And then ensure that we also had a meeting with Delta at their headquarters. It's very rare that we actually get access at headquarters, but because we're coming on as a new route, we met with a top level team to ensure that we will keep the lines of communication open, continue to ensure that we do what we can to support the route and ensure its success moving forward. But in addition to that, as we speak on Delta, I'd even like to make a little segue as well to another important point with JetBlue. Because recently you would have announced that JetBlue had a partnership with United Airlines. And that means United Airlines loyal customers can now fly on JetBlue and redeem their miles or their award program. So that opens another gateway for us because a lot of the loyalists try to stay loyal to their airlines and the routes that they fly. So with the JetBlue and United Airlines partnership, that new alliance will now open additional market share for us, especially out of the DMV area. That's the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, because they have a huge hub in Dallas and they also have a huge hub in Chicago. So we're also now realizing that we can go after that market, encourage more individuals to fly on JetBlue, that connect into JFK and then fly down to Grenada as well. So all of the opportunities that come our way, we continue to explore it. And in addition to that, we know we always continue to explore new routes and new markets. We're over in Africa, we're looking at that, and also other routes that are coming up. But it goes back to if we keeping these flights full.
Absolutely.
Where they're going to stay. So there's always a supply-demand sort of issue. So we always have to make sure we have the right amount of airlift coming in during those periods, because ultimately these are businesses, and if they're running low capacity on the route, that ends up being a problem because now they're asking, well, the fact is this, right now we don't pay them any money to fly empty seats. There's no revenue
I meant to ask you that. Are we still engaged in airlift payments?
We do not pay.
Good, wonderful.
We do not pay. So that means that these flights have to run completely profitable. And even if they're not running profitable, it's not the taxpayers now paying for empty seats. So that has been arranged and settled, and that's why they are looking to ensure that we are ensuring that we ensure that the flights remain full, that the marketing is working, we always have to reassess and ensure that it's going well, because in addition to the JetBlues and the North American capacity that we do have, we have Air Canada running 2 flights at least right now, and then you have WestJet, who also comes in December and runs through May. So there's a lot of lift. There's a lot more lift than we have ever had. I mean, Delta coming in now is going to add 22,000 more seats onto the destination.
Whoa.
So our work is cut out.
Yep. So this is a special opportunity to reach out to Grenadians who have apartments. Upgrade your accommodation so
That's
it
right.
can meet the quality standard of the Grenada Tourism Authority.
That's right.
So they can get on board there. Because if you check that segment, there could be probably a few thousand rooms that would be available from private sector Grenadian families.
That's correct.
Who have apartments.
That's correct, because and that way you really see how tourism starts filtering a little bit more into, and the revenue starts filtering a little bit more. Tourism has been continuing to drive the economy. Almost contributes $1 billion EC dollars to our economy, our largest GDP contributor. And then you also see the effects of even medical tourism right now. So you have educational tourism, SGU.
Right.
And even with the Prime Minister's plans of, getting Mount Sinai Hospital through Grenada, it opens avenues and it opens more demand, creates more organic demand for the destination. So as more demand is created, there'll be more demand for rooms. Because if we are limiting that, then what happens is that as you restrict supply, the prices start going up. So that's sort of the issue that's the point, and that's the issue that you keep having with flights. So it's even adding more capacity. It may seem like, okay, that's a natural thing to do because we need more competition, but more competition means that the airlines start cutting their routes. Because if it's no longer profitable to fly to a destination, they start cutting back, realizing that they could put the same aircraft on another route that might yield them more money. We don't want them to get to that point because now we start losing. Right? So you want to make sure that you have a good amount of capacity, the right balance between capacity and accommodation.
Right.
And it takes years to build, right? Because Delta, we were negotiating for Delta for 2.5 years. Speaking with them over, and you have had multiple conversations. We have all had multiple conversations.
It takes
and we had to keep making the case for them because they're saying that if they put an aircraft on the route, it has to succeed.
Of course.
And it has to be profitable. So we understand the calls for lowering the amount, but at the same time, it really does come down to supply and demand. And that's a fact.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah, that is the bottom line.
Well, you now have a new CEO.
Yes.
Okay. Do you wish to introduce
who
she is and maybe say goodbye to your outgoing CEO?
Yes.
Formally.
So I'll start with saying goodbye to the outgoing CEO, who has done a terrific job over the years in helping our tourism product grow. So we've again achieved a tremendous amount of growth through her. And we bid her farewell and all the best in her future endeavors. And now we have, and that's Miss Petra Roach. So Petra is now actually on the way to the airport, on the way. And here we have Mrs. Stacy Liebert, who's coming in with a wealth of experience. So she was previously running the Anguilla tourist board at the time, and she's going to come in. She's seasoned, and I think she will. I know she will pick up exactly where Petra left off. We will continue to see the growth and development of our industry. So, I mean, there were individuals who were wondering, is everything going to be fine? I was like, yes, it will be. We are very confident about it because this new CEO, Mrs. Liebert, will continue to make sure the Grenadian flag is flying very high. The board went through a very extensive search process because what was important is that we get the best qualified candidate for the job. Because again, we just made the mention, right? Airlift is relying on it. Investment is relying on it. All our stakeholders are relying on it. So we have to ensure that Grenada continues to thrive, that we continue to push the economy forward. And therefore, we know that right now we are in the best capable hands to make sure that does happen and continue to move our tourism product forward.
Absolutely. Well, let me just take a moment off too, because time has certainly caught up with us already.
It is flying.
To say to all our listeners on radio is that we will be continuing this conversation with the chairman of the Grenada Tourism Authority, Randy Dolan, and we wish to invite you, therefore, to join us on Facebook or on YouTube. So we want to say a really goodbye. It's almost 1 o'clock. But let's continue on this. Let's just go back a little bit to the cricket.
Yep.
What was involved in really signing on to that cricket match for Grenada?
Well, again, a lot of it comes out to us going out and bidding for it, right? And that's really from the Ministry of Sports. So really with the central government to go out to do that. So whatever we have, when you have events like cricket, the Tourism Authority comes in as a supporting role in that, right?
Yeah.
Ensuring that we're now able to get them, ensure that we have everything ready to ensure the visitors are coming into to the country. So we just really went out to support the relevant ministries and relevant organizations who were instrumental in that. You would have seen on social and in the news, Cricket West Indies, they were at the Prime Minister's office, and a lot of these talks, conversations, negotiations have been going on. We've been, through our Prime Minister and everyone else, we've been raising the profile of Grenada regionally, especially with them being the outgoing chair of CARICOM. We're having the large summit that we had here last year. So Grenada's continuing to really push the mark, right, and become, the face of development in the Southern Caribbean. And in addition to that, right after cricket, you have AfriExim.
The AfriExim Caribbean Symposium.
The symposium coming up.
Yep.
And there's a lot more happening. And even after that, next year, we have CARIFTA coming back to Grenada for 2026.
Exactly.
Which again, pushed through the
Ministry of Tourism. It'll be a busy year and into next year.
That's right. So we are continuing to push the bar and continuing to raise the level of engagement overseas, internationally. And the GTA really comes in on that sort of supporting role. We do whatever is needed of us at that time, because every event, they might have different needs. So we will always step in. But I think what's important in doing that, again, is, as I mentioned earlier, the collective buy-in from our local folk, right? Collective buy-in, engaging with the AfriExim conference, with all these different investors, some of the wealthiest individuals from Africa coming in. Collective buy-in with the cricket, ensuring that you show up to the park to support our team, buy-in on it.
Very important.
Buy-in on sports, the other sports that we have, because we have rugby. This is going to be our 4th year of doing the rugby tournament. And that's been going very well, and it's been growing in large numbers and also contributing to the economy, in the sense that even the smaller hotels, the smaller businesses, they really see the benefit from that. So there's so many different events that we would always go out to promote and play that supporting role on the back end to ensure that, all the cricket organizations are, we engage with them, because with everything else, we have to do this together. So we always have to support.
Yep, absolutely. So indeed. Now, the question surrounding the airport itself, the infrastructure. Is our airport ready for all this traffic, or do we intend making some further adjustments to it?
Well, I guess I leave airport business usually for Airport Authority.
Okay.
They have a great board. They have a great team at the airport. We work very closely with them as well. So as you would have also seen, as the Prime Minister's Minister for overseas national security and therefore immigration, we just added new kiosks. So it's a lot easier on moving through the line. We're going digital very soon with the ED cards. So we're going to eventually be getting rid of the manual ones.
Right.
So Immigration and Customs will be speaking on one digital platform. And then, of course, we're going to make sure that the airports are fully decorated and make sure that the flow of individuals goes smoothly. Because we realize with the capacity coming in, we have to ensure that that moves well. You have the jet bridges that are going to be coming up soon.
Right.
So testing for that is coming. The response from the airlines have been very favorable. And we're looking, I think in the coming weeks, they're going to be hopefully in operation. Not granting there might be minor setbacks here and there, but because you have to make sure that the operation runs very smoothly and is very safe.
Yep.
So there's no need to rush to do something just to do it. When we do anything, we do it properly. So very soon that's going to be activated and up and running. And then from there, again, just ensuring that visitors, when they arrive, they feel well greeted, well received. They know that they're in the Spice Country. And so, so we always work along with the airport to ensure that, we work along with them, even to help the customer service. The Tourism Authority has a training platform that we provide training for free
Right.
to any stakeholder that wants it, right? And training is not a one-off thing, so you also have to be doing it constantly. So reminding, anyone who's interacting with a visitor that you're essentially you become an ambassador of the destination. So it is in our interests collectively, or collective interests, to always treat our guests well, but not just our guests, but our fellow Grenadians, right? Because I guess charity always starts at home, right?
Absolutely.
And even in talking about charity starting at home, it's important that we keep our home clean. So I'm always going to use this as a PSA to speak about the fact that we don't want to be going out there and littering, especially as we have a lot of visitors coming in. We're going to have, for Carnival, for Juve morning, everybody goes down to Grenada's beach. So we're going to have additional crews prepped and ready to go to do the beach cleanup after that.
But I think, why do we have to clean up the beach? People need to be responsible.
But that's the thing, and that's where I'm saying, this is like, a PSA again to all Grenadians. When you do come, please do not litter. Clean up after yourselves, because you will
leaving old shoes and old vests on the beach, and
you don't want to leave that there full of oil. Try to dispose of it. Try to dispose of it responsibly. I know you're tired after Juve, you're trying to clean, you're trying to get ready to go back on the road, but at the same time, you're leaving that for someone else to trip over, right? For a visitor to look at and take a picture, for it to go viral.
I trust that there will be additional bins strategically placed on the beach.
We're going to be looking at all of that, but we already assessed the issue. So, as we trying to make sure that we are resourced to take care of that. But even outside of that, if you go on a beach on Monday, you're going to beach tomorrow morning, you're going to see KFC boxes on the beach, right? And everything else, plastic bottles. And it's not tourists that's leaving that in most cases. It's we're doing that, right?
Mainly local.
And this is our country. And I think that we have to, again, talking about a buy-in, the buy-in comes from us because it's our beautiful country. It's our pure Grenada. It's our spice island. So we have to be responsible with our product, with our home.
Absolutely.
And I think that it's just, we also keep reminding our own that we have to take care of ourselves and take care of our people.
Okay, well, we're going to take a short break, but when we come back, I want to ask you the question. What is the relationship between the local Taxi Bus Owners Association and the GTA? And how is that relationship going? Because late at night, people want buses to go here, there. But we'll be back in a moment.
Don't miss the event of the summer that everyone's talking about. It's the 17th annual Grenadian Heritage Day, happening on Saturday the 19th of July. Proudly hosted by the Grenada High Commission and Grenada Community Groups. Your venue is the Haringey Rhinos Rugby Playing Field, White Hart Lane, Wood Green, London, N22 5QJ, right opposite the New River Sports Centre. It's just a short walk from the Wood Green Tube Station, and buses W3 and W4 stop nearby. Experience the vibrant culture of Grenada and the Caribbean, featuring mouth-watering Grenadian and Caribbean cuisine, authentic produce straight from Grenada, unique arts and crafts stores, a fully stocked licensed bar, and live entertainment all day long. There'll also be kids and youth activities. On stage, the dynamic Spicy Do Band, high-energy soca aerobics and Zumba sessions, and a colourful carnival costume parade, as well as jab, live drumming and cultural dancing, plus much more. There'll be lots of fun for the kids too, including face painting, bouncy castles and slides. Don't miss our grand raffle draw, our first prize return ticket to Grenada, plus loads of other amazing prizes. Tickets are £10 for adults, £5 for children, available on Eventbrite, directly from us or at the gate. Wear your national colours and come celebrate the true spirit of Grenada in the heart of London. Grenadian Heritage Day. It's when the island vibes and Caribbean culture come alive in the UK. For more information, call 07498 911 135 or 0207 385 4415.
Climate change doesn't adhere to a specific time frame. It fuels multiple hazard events, from hurricanes and flooding to heat waves and landslides. These events may occur back-to-back or simultaneously, creating compounded risks for our communities. Preparedness must go beyond one season or one threat. Preparedness must be year-round and multi-hazard focused. Preparedness is resilience. Preparedness begins with you.
A message from the National Disaster Management Agency, NADMA.
Summer is here, and so is the search for Grenada's next big talent. The Grenada Office of Creative Affairs presents Sing Grenada, a youth-powered program spotlighting the next generation of musical talent.
We're looking for young stars from every corner of the island. Whether you sing, play an instrument, or create beats, this is your moment.
Show Grenada and the world what you've got. Submit a 1-minute video to singgrenada@gmail.com or click the link in our bio to register. Please state your name, your age, what school you attend, and you must be 19 and under to apply.
Your voice, your sound, your story. This is Sing Grenada, where talent takes center stage.
Welcome back to the NDC Heartbeat episode for today, Sunday. We had earlier on Cecil Noel, the CEO of Spice Mask Corporation, and in studio with me is Randy Dolan, the chairman of the Grenada Tourism Authority. So before we went on the break, I was asking you about transportation, because with these hundreds and thousands of visitors, they want to move late at night. How is the authority collaborating with these entities to ensure that there is good services?
So the Grenada Hotel and Tourism Association has been working very closely with the Transport Commission as well, because one of the big issues is ensuring that the hotel workers, the hospitality industry workers are able to adequately have transportation to go home. That's a big issue. And in addition to that, the Prime Minister has been working very closely with the Transport Commission. It's a key agenda item of his to ensure that this sort of is resolved and fixed. So it's important that he's been continue to engage. It's important that we all continue to engage to find the best solution. The Transport Commission has been working around the clock to do that, and even building out a new transportation solution and build it out sustainably is also important. We're going electric, so you're going to have electric buses coming very soon. And then you see like even the different pilot projects, like the one for the school children, the school buses and that sort of thing. So step by step, we're learning and growing, because this is now sort of like a shift from where we were traditionally, because everything is sort of privately owned. And right now the Commission and through the Prime Minister's vision is to work to resolve that, because that would not just help our industry, it would help our locals, and it will help the visitors. And again, it just speaks to the collective growth of everyone, right? So if you have a lot of visitors needing transportation, it just creates organic demand. Right? And with organic demand, then everybody starts benefiting, because you start benefiting from economies of scale.
Absolutely.
And once you start growing economies of scale, then you have a better running, more functioning system. And I think this is part of the entire visionary leadership of the NDC, of this current administration, is to really move us into a society of the future, where the benefits from that we put in place today would be long lasting and could benefit generations going forward as they continue to, make modifications and improvements. But I think it's important that we just don't leave things how we found it. We continue to innovate, we continue to find solutions, even though it may seem hard, it may seem timely, but it's important that we get it right and do it properly and continue to leave a lasting legacy.
Great, fantastic. This is all part of the transformation agenda.
That's correct.
Which, unfortunately, some people still can't see it, but there's not all those who have eyes can see.
Well, I guess that's what Doubting Thomas said. He said. So, at the same time, I think that, Rome wasn't built in a day, as they always say. But there is a plan. And I think that's the biggest thing that we could talk about right now is the fact that there's a plan, and now you're starting to see execution, because initially coming in, you have to get in and assess, understand what's there, understand the issues traditionally that has sort of affected those sectors, and now make a plan to put solutions in place.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, once you get in, you not only assess, but you have to clean up whatever you met.
There's all of that.
And then to start the transformation process.
That's correct. So, and I think that with everything you're seeing right now, at least you're seeing that the progress. You're seeing things actually starting to happen and starting to take shape. Because, it's tough coming in and just starting. You can't start on day one. That's not possible.
Of course.
But here we are, and I think that if you look at the success so far, you can see it, right? You can see that definitely in tourism. You can see where our numbers have skyrocketed because we stay focused, we keep our eye on the ball, and make sure that whatever we're doing, we do it and it is well received, well supported.
Right. Now, earlier on, you mentioned about the possible air connection between Africa and Grenada. I know the Prime Minister is attending this African Bank conference right now, and what are some of the info coming out of those bilateral discussions?
Well, you see, that it has to come out of sort of organic growth. And now that you're seeing that we're creating that sort of bond between a continent, which you have not had before, we're starting to see more organic growth, because that means there's more interest. And where there's more interest, there's more dialogue. And where there's more dialogue, it creates more opportunity, right? So now we're looking at opportunity for investment, opportunity for leisure travel. And so out of all of that, we continue to engage. Because again, sometimes it takes a longer time to build air bridges.
Oh yeah.
We've seen that it took a while to even get Delta back from Atlanta, much less trying to go to the continent. However, with Delta, you can fly from ATL, Atlanta, Hartsfield, Jackson, straight onto the African continent because they offer connections.
Well,
right?
Delta is big in Africa.
They're big in Africa, exactly. So we're looking at using that service if you are flying Delta to sort of use their service to connect. So through all of that, now we start going in and start promoting the destination. And as more as the African leaders have Grenada on their tongues, then more of their population and that audience that they do have starts understanding Grenada. And remember, it's not even just on the continent of Africa, but Africans through the diaspora. Everyone in the diaspora, the West Indian diaspora, the African diaspora, wherever you reside, you're now listening to what the politicians are saying. You're listening to what the influencers are saying, and those who have like the business opportunities, they're going to start coming our way. So again, this is why Grenada is poised for development and really poised to for that transformation that we were discussing.
It almost sounds and feels like, well, hold on, guys, we can't take any more. We almost to capacity.
Well, right, because if you look at Spice Mass last year, it felt like we were at capacity. Right?
True.
And now we're trying to push the bar.
And you're pushing it 30% on.
That's the point. So now, but this is, when we speak about business opportunity, this is where the opportunity lies, right? And it's not necessarily about just continuing to do the same that we've always done before. Because even when we all collectively mention the fact that about we trying to raise the bar and the standard, even goes back to culinary, right? What are we offering our visitors when they arrive, right? With the Isle of Spice. But sometimes this is a time when we're asking like those vendors, like, maybe enough for the chicken and chips. Because we know that's not maybe the best thing. And we have so much to
fish.
offer.
So much.
Right? We have so much that visitors are coming to the Spice Island.
And they want the breadfruit chips.
That's the point. So let's continue to innovate. Let's be a little bit more creative, and let's continue to even help distinguish yourself, your services from the guy down the street, right? That you have something a little bit more to offer. Because
cassava chips, breadfruit chips, plantain chip, blogger chips.
All of those wonderful things.
Chip.
Just we
only had to hope that it's coming cheap.
Well, quality. People pay for quality. And that's the thing, right?
Course.
Because when you look at the visitor profile that comes to Grenada, they're not the bargain hunters. Right? They're the sort of the visitor that's
they can afford.
They're coming off the beat. They're looking for that, setting the trail. They want to go back and have bragging rights to their friends. And said, I went to Grenada. And it was like, where is Grenada? It's sort of like a best kept secret, right? And sometimes you see that, and individuals are like, oh gosh, I don't want it to become like Mexico, where it's overgrown with tourists. But that would not happen because we don't have the ability to build that fast. So that's not going to necessarily happen, but at least not in our lifetimes. But I think that is really it talks to us as a quality destination. So when we speak about a quality destination, I think that we all have that responsibility to always offer a quality product. So ensuring that even we have enough costumes for masqueraders when they come, ensuring that we have proper food and experiences, because what people are buying now are experiences. And that is what that's what ultimately converts them to the next best salesperson for the destination. Is that they would go back and say, we went to Grenada, we had an amazing experience, and we ate all these wonderful things. Because food is an international language.
Absolutely.
No matter what other language you
Absolutely.
you need to eat.
Yeah.
And if you provide that wonderful experience of, you give them some cocoa tea, give them some of our local types of food, but not just even just oil long, which is our national dish, but how can we continue to expand and further the imagination of what else we can create, produce.
And using up our spices.
But that's the point.
We don't use much of it, coming to think of it.
Our spices should be flavoring the foods around the diaspora. And again, not just the Grenada diaspora, we are talking about going back to Africa.
Right. Yeah.
It should be our spices going out there. We have the richest and best quality of spices, and there's no reason why we shouldn't have that opportunity to go out and showcase that. Like now we're at WIPO, right? That's the intellectual
property,
right, property, and we're doing that, and that's happening right now in Switzerland, if I'm not mistaken. If I am not, then forgive me.
Yeah.
But that's happening right now, and Von is an ambassador for WIPO, right? So that's a Grenadian doing that, and this is a global organization.
Yeah.
So what that means is that a lot of our products can be trademarked. And in having that ability, you're now able as a small business owner, especially in the cottage industry, to develop your business and get it out into the international market where it cannot be simply just ripped off, right? Or copied, for lack of a better word.
Exactly.
So it's important to utilize all of these wonderful opportunities, because the Grenada Tourism Association, for example, is one of the largest customers of the GCNA, even some of our local vendors. Because we're going out with our bags and everything else, and it's all Grenadian products, right? We're not trying to take products made in China. Right? So it has to be all Grenadian products. It has to be the Grenadian chocolate, the cocoa, the nutmeg, everything that we make here locally. And we have a lot of great products that we have that is produced locally. So when we speak about tourism, it's important to know that tourism is not mutually exclusive from Grenadian way of life. Grenadian way of life is what our tourism product is.
Exactly.
Right? Because that's what they come to see. They come to see how do we live here. We speak about the friendliness of the people, the beautiful, the scenery, the food, and what we do, show them our customs. We're so proud to show them our country. And that is what tourism is. So tourism, if you take agriculture out, tourism falls flat. If you take food out, tourism falls flat, right? If you take Grenadians out, there's no Grenada to sell.
Forget it.
That's the point. So it's always about really, we have to holistically embrace this. And that goes back again to the connection of why we treat each other well, in addition to the visitors. Because what we said in Grenada, and what's unique about Grenada, is our way of life.
Exactly.
The island is the resort. You go to most places, they go behind a wall into the resort, and you stay inside there, and then you just leave to go back to the airport. But in Grenada, that's not the case. Grenada is out, you come out into the communities.
That's it.
So community tourism is a key focus of this administration. Our minister is very supportive of that, ensuring, because he's a minister of culture as well, and ensuring that community tourism benefits and people really benefit from it. So it's really just a time for everybody to just continue to do their best, continue to provide the best services, friendliest faces, and by doing that, you create just sort of more economic activity and prosperity for all of us. Right,
absolutely. While we were talking about spices, it came to my recollection that many years ago, the airport authority had grounded nutmeg into the air conditioning system whenever the wide-body aircrafts arrive. So you're getting there and you get this whiff of spice, nutmeg. It was absolutely mind-blowing. And therefore I want to charge you with the responsibility to insist that the airport authority reintroduces. It's just a 5-pound bag of grounded nutmeg and just throw it in the AC duct. And it takes it around. It's not a big deal. But you get that euphoria of spice.
I agree.
You know you're in spice country.
I agree. I mean, I think, but I will definitely pass the suggestion along to the airport authority. Well, I know they've been working on
years ago.
They're doing a lot of upgrades to the airport. They're beautifying the airport. They're doing a wonderful job there because they're very committed in terms of delivering that. We will continue to work with them to do all these little things. And even as a segue to that, we are working on a lot of festivals. I'm bringing more festivals to Grenada
Right.
to continue to double down again on our local attractions, right?
Right.
Going back to agriculture, going back to flowers, going back to seafood, going back to all of these wonderful things. We'll be announcing some of these things coming up. So just,
Great.
letting the viewers that you could stay tuned,
Well,
because that's all going to be happening very, very quickly. And so we'll be making more announcements later on this year
Great.
of some wonderful activities, and again, going back to community.
well, looks as though we'll have to have you back here very soon again.
Absolutely, it'll be my pleasure to come in, come back, speak about the what we're doing, how we're doing, because we always have to continue to assess,
Right.
and always get feedback, because it's so important to stay engaged with
Right.
the public.
Great, fantastic. Well, time has really caught up with us. We've gone way beyond the scheduled hour, but it was very interesting, very stimulating. So let me invite you, therefore, to give your closing remarks.
Well, I would say simply, there's this old saying where it says tourism is everybody's business, and we're trying to move away from that now. We are all tourism, right? Because I've seen that when we said that before, it sort of created a disconnect between whereas tourism is fine, but I have to go to tourism or participate in tourism because if not, to be part of tourism. But that's not the case. I think it's important that we understand that we are tourism. What we do today when we leave here, that is part of the tourism product, right? Because visitors are seeing and observing, they are coming into our communities, they are engaging with us. So it's important that we continue to represent ourselves, because we're all ambassadors. Even from how we keep the beach, not littering on the side of the road, to the way we treat each other in the restaurants, being polite, being professional. We're going to be doing a big push right now in ensuring the sites are well maintained and well run. That's part of our Minister, Adrian Thomas, his part of his agenda. We're going to make sure that that gets well taken care of. But again, it's just really about, charity starts at home, as we mentioned, and it's important, especially with Spice Mass coming up, that we make sure that Grenada remains a safe country. It's one of our greatest selling points. So we want to make sure that everybody plays a safe Spice Mass. Let's squash any issues that you may have. You don't want to end up in problems with the law, any violence. We don't want to hear about that, because it's something that we proudly talk about when we are marketing Grenada as a destination. It is why we do not have the big walls at the hotels. It is why the visitors go out into the community. It is why we have such a wonderful and amazing product. And it is why we have an opportunity to attract more investment and continue to have more economic stimulation that filters all the way into the communities, is because we are a safe destination. So to all our local listeners and everyone coming, Grenada is a safe place. Let's keep it that way. And I think because that's one of our main selling points. Absolutely. So that's a call to all that, this is not a place for violence, and let's continue to take care of each other.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much indeed for being part of the Heartbeat today.
It was an absolute pleasure, and encouraging everyone to go out, enjoy the cricket next week. It's not every day you get to have a test. It's not every day you have Australia coming in doing a tour of the West Indies. So come on out, support all guys. Let's continue to rally around the West Indies. Give them all the support that they need, and it's going to be a fantastic week. July is going to be, so that's going to be the start of July. It's July already, can you imagine?
Yep.
And then after that, we're going straight into Spice Mass. Well, we have Act for Exim coming up end of July. Then we have Spice Mass. And then we're getting ready to prepare for the next season. So it's going to be pace from here.
Very hectic.
Looking forward to it.
Great, wonderful. Well, thank you for being part of the Heartbeat today, and let me thank all our listeners and viewers who joined the Heartbeat today. And we want to thank the CEO of Spice Mass Corporation, Cecil Noel, for joining the Heartbeat. And of course, Randy Dolan, the chairman of the Grenada Tourism Authority, and he's wearing several hats, as you would appreciate. So thank you, Randy, for sharing on today's Heartbeat. And we need to have you back again, because there's obviously a lot happening under your watch. So thank you, and do have a great Sunday afternoon, and see you again next Sunday when we have other equally interesting and stimulating conversation taking place right here on the Heartbeat. Have a great Sunday afternoon. Goodbye now.